Hey everybody, welcome back to the Baddie Broadcast, where we talk about the day-to-day moments that shape you into the baddie that you are. I am your host, Sarah Jane. Thanks so much for being here. You know that I appreciate the love and support. Last week's podcast episode, I had talked about basically the power of letting go of planning and focusing more on the goal than the plan, because the plan's always going to change. You have no idea what tomorrow is going to hold. Don't plan. Don't waste your time planning. Plan to a degree, plan to a level, but your main focus should be on the goal. What is the goal that you're trying to accomplish? You want to make an additional $100,000 by the end of the year. Don't focus on how, focus on what the goal is. $100,000 by the end of the year. How does that feel? Damn, that feels good. I'm excited. Shit. Right? And that's the space that you got to stay in, and then just let it go and go about your day. So we touched on that in last week's podcast episode. And what led us to that conversation was kind of how I had went through a life-altering situation, and it opened my eyes. And one of the biggest lessons that I had learned was stop planning and just focus on the goal, because you really don't know what tomorrow holds. I had a lot of people, a lot of support from personal friends as well that heard the podcast episode, and of course they were asking questions. So I thought I would address what had happened on this podcast episode. It truly is a crazy, wild story. I think podcasts should be about being vulnerable and being real. I think there's a part of me that's like, no one wants to hear my story, and that's something that I really want to overcome, because I would never not want to listen to somebody else's story, That's how we learn, that's how we grow. So I think it's important to be vulnerable. I think it's important to speak your truth and your story, and I'm hoping that through this episode, I'm encouraging you to do the same. So make sure that you get involved, leave some comments, hit a like, subscribe, and if there's any way that you can express yourself, I encourage you to do so. Write that song, write that track, bust out that guitar, that piano, right? Even poetry, like whatever that outlet looks like for you, make sure that you're sharing your story, because someone out there needs to hear it. So basically over the last, 2 years, I knew something was off hormonally, because I was like just kind of starting to be all over the place. This is a little TMI, but it is what it is. We're all adults. So I started having an irregular period, and my whole life I was like the easy, like I was the one that was like, oh cool, 3-day periods, like no cramps. Like I was always the one in the group that was like the lucky one. So I knew immediately when things started going weird, I was like, something's not right. I end up going to the OBGYN, and I'm like, hey, listen, something's going on. I'm having like severe back pain, and my period's irregular, and emotionally I'm like all over the place, which I was. It was hard for me to stay in one spot. Like small things would happen and I would just start bawling my eyes out. And then I would laugh while I was bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, something's wrong. Something's wrong, right? So I end up going to the OBGYN. I tell her kind of what's going on. I did have lower back pain, although I didn't register that they were because of the same cause. But I did mention to her I'm having lower back pain. So she goes, okay, you probably have fibroids. Now, fibroids are just like little tissue, basically, that adheres to the side of the uterine wall. 80% of women have them. Most women don't even know that they have them. It's a completely normal thing. And you can try to flush them out yourself. You can have a minimally invasive surgery done where they just kind of go in and scoop them out. It just depends. It's a personal preference, but 80% of women have them. It's a normal thing. That made me feel way better. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is like a normal thing. Like, I guess you're dealing with as a woman. Like, all right, no big deal. 6 months go by and everything's getting worse. And I'm like, okay, I guess I should go in for this minimally invasive surgery, right? One thing led to another. I went to schedule an appointment. they didn't get back to me right away. Then I missed one of the appointments. So it was just, I don't know. Now looking back, I'm like, I have had to question my self-love. And not on a level where I'm mad at myself or I'm beating myself up. It's more of a subconscious level. Like consciously you think in your head, you know, I love myself. I love myself. Of course. Yeah, I love myself. But then subconsciously, based on your actions, you can tell if that's accurate or not. So why I didn't reach out and push for a little bit more help when things didn't start moving in the right direction is a conversation I've had to have with myself. And I'm bringing it up in the podcast because I think it's a conversation everybody should have with themselves. You might think one thing, but your truth lies in your reality. Whatever you're experiencing and however you're perceiving it tells you about how much you love yourself. Now, I want to add onto this with, you are not born being taught to love yourself. You're immediately stripped and taken from society, from culture, from religion, from schools, from your own family dynamics, right? And so there's a lot that shapes you into the person that you are. By the time you become an adult, you love yourself on the levels that you were taught to love yourself. So I wasn't mad at myself when I didn't reach out for help earlier, because I did exactly what society taught me to do, which was put myself last. The important thing was that I was able to see that that was the truth of my conditioning. I absorbed what society said to do, and I did exactly that. I put myself last. I made suffering a normal thing. It's not a normal thing. Suffering is not a normal thing. You deserve better. I deserved better. So I get to the OBGYN. I tell her what's going on. She's like, you can flush them out if you want. Then this little misalignment happens where like I can't quite, like I'm missing their calls and then appointments. They're missing my calls. I'm missing their appointments. Like it was just a weird thing. So then I guess about another year goes by and I'm just making this a normal thing. I'm learning how to live with it. I'm thinking in my head like it'll rectify itself, you know, but meanwhile the back pain was like like crazy. For those of you that have ever had like a back injury, you know. Like my mom had a back injury years and years and years ago, and she's the first person I called. I said, I am so sorry I was not more compassionate. I had no idea how debilitating this is. So that should have been a first clue, like, fuck is going on? It's crazy back pain. So I'm like, all right, now this is where we're at. I'm just kind of riding with it. I'm learning how to live with it. I don't know why I'm doing that. I needed to learn to love myself more. Next thing you know, this is where everything gets juicy. Okay, so I knew shit was wrong. I knew something was out of whack, but I really thought in my head, like, I could fix it. Meanwhile, in other areas of my life, because this is another thing I want you to take away here, is that all of the chapters of your life, not chapter, I don't think chapter is the right word, every aspect of your life is interconnected. So while my health was doing one thing, I was busting my ass for 3 different, completely different, huge projects. 3 different companies, busting my ass, and I was running myself into the ground because the truth was only one of them was my company. So I was running myself into the ground for 2 other people that I loved dearly, but for dreams that were not mine. And I knew I was betraying myself. I knew I should have been taking time away from that and putting it into my cup. But that brought up a lot of fears. self-growth that I was going to have to do. So this was a way to distract myself. Now, at the time, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. Obviously, in my head, I was like, this is going to be great. You know, I'll do this, 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 and this. Here's me trying to make a plan, and it'll take me to here. But the truth was, I was lying to myself. If you want to go somewhere, you embark on the journey and you head in that direction. You don't head off in the opposite direction and try to convince yourself that it's going to loop around at the end of the road. That's what I did. So I ran myself into the ground. I knew that I was lying to myself. I knew that I wasn't happy in the direction I was moving. I had let go of my business and put my business last. And that manifested as a dis-ease, right, in my body. So I think there was a part of me that knew if you don't get your shit together, something, you know, and not that I wanted to scare myself, but I think I felt that. I knew I'm somebody that's very spiritual. I'm very energy conscious. And I knew if I don't listen to myself, I keep lying to myself, eventually that lie is going to crystallize. So fast forward, Memorial weekend, super lethargic. I don't know what, I had no idea. I'm just like, yo, I am so lethargic. I ended up leaving the shindig that we were at. We went down to the beach at Assateague Island. Shout out to Assateague Island. You know, they got the horses roaming and stuff, and you camp right there on the beach. Oh, it's so beautiful. I ended up leaving early because I was just like, oh, I'm so tired. But nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody. I hid this. I mean, people knew about it, but it's not something that was out front in your face. Like, hey, your menstrual cycle is off course, you know? Like, it's not something that you're like sharing really with other people. It's just kind of something that's easy to hide. So I just was like, hey, I want to make sure I have the whole day on Monday, so I'm going to head out. So I left, went home. Can't believe I even made it home. Monday, I just was on the couch all day and I had no energy. I mean, to get up and get a glass of water was like pulling teeth. I think I started becoming a little scared at that point because I was like, something's just not right. But I don't know. Like, it's so crazy. I guess I was disassociating. Like, because I look at it now and I'm like, I would never. But like, I just did. So that's the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind, right? It's like consciously, I'm like, I would never, like, if you have an issue like that, you reach out, you get help. But I didn't. And it's just mind-blowing to me when I review the situation. I'm like, wow, like subconsciously, I did not love myself the way that I thought I did. And that's just what it is. I'm grateful everything happened because I was able to see exactly that. And I think that's a really important statement to accept and understand so that I can fix it to move forward. Monday, I'm lethargic. Tuesday, I push myself. Wednesday, I push myself. Thursday comes around. This is where we're getting to the climax. Thursday comes around. I come home. I lay down on the couch. I'm like, I'm just going to cancel all my plans and go to bed. And then I hear something. It's like, no, you have to get up. Now, here's the funny thing. I really wanted this table from Facebook Marketplace. I found this table. I was so excited about it. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome table. It's going to be perfect. I want this big, round, 6-seat oak wood table, and I found the perfect one. So I call my mom up because I have a car. So I call my mom and I say, hey, I need your minivan because the table's not going to fit in my car. Can I use the van? She's like, of course. So I head on over to her house despite wanting to. I really almost just was like, I'm going to pass out, go to bed. And I was like, no, you need to make this, you made this commitment, you need to stick to it. So I whip over there to pick up the van. And my stepdad takes the van. He's like, I'm just going to run over to Sunoco real quick. Thank goodness he did. Between the time that he left for Sunoco and came back, the first sign was my hands started itching aggressively. I mean, it was like I took my hand and put it in a pricker bush. Like both my hands just start violently itching, and it happened so fast. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, my hands are itching. I'm like, whoa, this is like crazy. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't feel too good. So I run upstairs. Thank goodness I make it upstairs. By the time I make it upstairs, I am shutting down. I fall to my knees. I am sweating bullets. My whole body is breaking out in hives. I have no idea what's going on. The first thing I think to do is get in the shower. Like, I didn't know what else to do, but I had never went from feeling totally fine to that sick that fast. It was very intense and it was very scary. So I fling myself into the shower because at this point, like, I can't stand. I'm losing momentum. My body's basically shutting down. I feel it. I fling myself into the shower. I'm laying in the shower. I turn the shower on, ice cold water, and it works. My adrenaline kicks in. I'm sitting in the shower. I'm laying down. My phone, my wallet, everything's in my pocket. So my phone broke. Well, of course, I'm not caring about any of that. I'm just laying in the shower like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? So eventually, like 10 minutes later, I'm like, okay, I got to pull myself out of the shower. I'm fully dressed. I pull myself out of the shower. I'm laying on the floor. I'm like trying to get my clothes off. I go to grab a towel from the closet. But the only thing that I can reach is a Snuggie. So I grab this Snuggie, right? And I'm like trying to get myself out of clothes. Then I get into the Snuggie. Meanwhile, I'm just like laying there. I'm shaking. And that's when I start drifting in and out. 1 second, I'm like dreaming and I'm somewhere else. I'm having a great time. And then I'm back in the present moment. And then next thing you know, I'm dreaming again. And then I'm back in the present moment. And it started happening so often within a short period of time that I realized what was going on. I was like, fuck, I'm drifting in and out of consciousness. So I tried to get myself into the spare bedroom, and I'm in there and I start hearing static in my ears and everything is starting to kind of look weird. And I'm like, oh no, something's definitely not right. Then I feel like TMI again, but I feel like I have to pee. I'm like, oh, fuck, like I have to pee. And like, I don't know if you guys know me, like even in moments like these, I'm just always going to strive to be like the best. So I was like, I got to go back in the bathroom. I got to pee. Like, so I go to run back into the bathroom after trying to like gain some momentum. My ass didn't make it to the bathroom. I fucking fell. Like, right, like, why am I doing, like, even this whole process, like, the second I wasn't feeling well, just call 911, but not me. Nope, not me. I gotta triple check to make sure. Am I dying? Because that's the only time I'm calling the ambulance. I get back into the bathroom. I fall on the ground again. I'm a total mess. At that point, I start drifting in and out of consciousness again. I am trying to call for my mom, but she's downstairs and my stepdad was down in his office, which is like the opposite side of the house. So neither one of them really heard me. And so I'm like calling and calling. And then I start opening the cabinets, the bathroom cabinets, and I'm like slamming the cabinets because I'm just trying to get somebody's attention because I'm like, they're going to find me dead up here if I don't push myself. So I'm slamming the cabinets. And what do I hear? The dog. Shout out, Lucky. Shout out, Lucky. Lucky, I hear him get up off the couch. I hear him come to the edge of the steps. And so I start banging the cabinets even more. And I'm like yelling to the best of my ability. And then I hear him go in and he's like kind of walking around my mom. And she says, what is it, Lucky? What is it? And then she hears me. She's like, oh my gosh, is that Sarah? I hear her say that. And she gets up, she comes upstairs, and I'm upstairs, and I'm just pale white, soaking wet, in nothing but a Snuggie, just drifting in and out of consciousness. At the exact same moment, my sister gets there. She runs upstairs. She also finds me on the floor. And she is like, everybody snap the fuck out of it. We're calling 911 right now. And so she grabs me some sweatpants. She gets me all dressed. I'm in literally just sweatpants and just a Snuggie. So silly. And they call 911. This beautiful, gorgeous, handsome group of men come up to get me. And I'm like completely chuzzed out. Like I am just a mess, right? I'm like soaking wet. Like my hair is soaking wet. I got nothing but the Snuggie and the sweatpants on. And they're like, are you okay? And my adrenaline kicks in because I'm like, I got these like huge men in the room and it's intimidating, you're like, they're coming in, they have all their equipment, like you're like, am I okay? I don't fucking know. I have no idea what's going on. So they're like, your vitals seem to be okay, let's get you in the ambulance. Get me in the ambulance, get me hooked up to some stuff, and they take me down to the hospital. During the ride, I have to shout out here to my medic. My whole group was incredible, but the medic that rode in the back with me, his name was Brandon. Shout out Brandon. He just kept a very good conversation with me. He asked me where I lived and kind of like, I remember talking about what I liked about where I lived. And I liked that because it made me think of home. It kept me calm. It kept me peaceful. He was like, oh, there are walking trails around there. We're like talking about the walking trails. So he really kept me in a space of like, okay, I'm fine, I'm stable, I'm here, let's have a normal conversation in the middle of the storm, right? That was the eye of the storm. But even then, my vitals were okay. So nobody knew what was going on. I get to the hospital, I get in there, I get the perfect nurse, shout out Shay. She was just so incredible, beautiful energy. She goes to take my blood, and I go into the worst episode yet. I tell her as she's taking my blood, I said, I don't feel good. I'm drifting right now. I'm telling you I'm drifting. I'm telling you I'm going unconscious. And I start sweating bullets again, and the whole thing happens again right there on the table. I hear her start freaking out, saying she's seizuring, and I hear the alarm go off, and I'm just gone, drift out, boom. Next thing you know, I'm coming back to. My face is being slung around because they're getting oxygen on me. And I just keep hearing her say, sweet baby girl, you're going to be okay. It was like such a statement that I needed to hear and that I will just forever be so grateful. Like to have that nurse. And when you're coming in and out of consciousness like that, that's what you need to hear. You need to hear every time you're coming to that you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And she just kept saying, sweet baby girl, you're going to be okay. Sweet baby girl, you're going to be okay. And honestly, it saved my life. So they realized in that moment, fuck, she's anemic. So here, I'm anemic from irregular cycles, and my body was going into shock and shutting down from being anemic and dehydration because I work out. So that's what was happening. They stabilize me, take me to another hospital, give me a blood transfusion, start running all these tests. While they're running tests, they see that my uterine wall is a little thicker than normal. So they're like, hey, it's a little thicker. You have to get a biopsy. All right, cool. So we set the biopsy up. I get out of the hospital. I head to the biopsy. The biopsy ends up being on my birthday. Shout out, happy birthday. Yay. Shout out me. So 4:30 in the morning, we are heading to the surgery center. I get there. Everybody from the anesthesia team is coming in. They're introducing themselves. They take me down to the OR and they all start singing happy birthday to me. It was just the sweetest experience. Shout out Penn Medicine. Shout out UPMC. Like I've met a lot of really good people on my journey so far. And, you don't realize how much of a difference your nurses and your EMS and your EMTs make until you have to use them. And you're like, wow, you're a staple in the community. Oh my gosh. So, next thing you know, I pass out. I thought they were going to be like, count back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, nope, nothing. Just boom. I don't remember shit. I woke up in another room a couple hours later. And the doctor had called my mom because my mom was the one that drove since I was under anesthesia. And she said, when you guys leave here, you need to go directly to CVS. We're ordering a medicine change. So I had already knew something went weird with the biopsy, but I was on anesthesia and it was my birthday. So I'm like, la, I'm just having a good time. I'm laughing with the nurses. Like nothing's going to get me down. So I get out, I come home, I'm still la. It does not until about like 7 or 8 p.m. that the anesthesia starts wearing off. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm in pain. I need some pain meds, and I'm like, all right, can I take Tylenol or can I take ibuprofen? Because depending on the type of medication you're on depends on what you can take. So I start looking up my medicine to figure out what I can take with it, having not even thought, like, oh, they put me on a different medicine. I wonder what it's for. And when I go to look it up, it's to treat advanced stages of uterine cancer. And that was a rough weekend because the biopsy happened on a Thursday. And so obviously the weekend, everything's closed down. And so I couldn't talk to my doctor because my doctor didn't even know. It was just based on what she saw. They made the decision to put me on this strong medicine. And so for the whole weekend, I'm like in my head because I'm like, I don't want to go there with my thoughts. But at the same time, I can't not honor the flow of emotion that is moving through me right now. Like, I'm a mess. I'm at a crossroads in my life. I am mid-30s. Like, what? What is happening here? So there was a lot of emotion in that weekend. My mom and my sisters knew because they had looked the medication up right away. So they knew about it, but they didn't want to tell me right away because it was like, well, without the biopsy, what's the point? And we don't know for sure. So we get through the weekend. OBGYN calls me and she says, I think that we caught this in the nick of time. I was very startled when we got into your uterine because of the amount of fibroids. But I got out as much as I could, and we got the biopsy done, and it did come back with precancer cells. But I think that we caught this right in the nick of time. So she transferred me over to an oncologist who was going to take over my case. I get to the oncologist's office, and I'm looking around, and everything's so pink and bedazzled and so cute. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it in here. Like, this is so cute. And then while I'm waiting for the doctor, I'm like really looking at things, and it occurs to me, like, I'm in a cancer treatment office. And that's just a weird moment. It's a weird moment. I think it's honestly a moment that too many of us have experienced. And so finally the oncologist comes and takes me back, and she is such a baddie. Like, she is a baddie. Shout out. I don't know, like, if I can say her name or not say her name, but shout out to my oncologist. She's a baddie. She comes in, she starts talking to me, and she outright tells me, I'm seeing this in younger and younger cases. And she goes, I can put you on treatment, and we can do the best that we can do on our end. But if you do not start taking responsibility for everything you put in your mouth and for your exercise routines, I don't know how far I can get you. And she outright tells me the food is not good for us. The food that we're consuming is not good. The stress levels, the lifestyle that we're living, it's not good. And you have to go against the grain. That was the realest shit I could have ever heard. I was like, damn, you're right. You're right. Okay. All right. So she starts telling me basically I'm going to be on medicine. I'm going to be on treatment for 6 months. And then I also have to do extreme diet and lifestyle change. So I have to get 10K steps plus a day, 100 grams of protein, 25 grams of fiber, 5,000 IU, vitamin D, vitamin K, gallon of water. I need to be hitting roughly a gallon of water a day. So, like, all these habits and routines, like, that's totally different from the way that I'm living. Like, yes, I drink water and yes, I exercise, but I kind of have my own routines that are built into the lifestyle that I have now. Once I got this whole report or diagnosis, it just was eye-opening to me. Like, where am I trauma bonded in life? Where am I doing things I don't want to do? I need to eliminate them right now. There's not even a question about it. Everything needs to be put on hold. I almost died. And that just gives you a whole different perspective of life. You become way more grateful. You become way less fearful. You're willing to take jumps that you might not have been willing to take before because fuck you got to lose. We're all going to die anyway at some point. So this is your time to do it. And the fact that I have a book that's finished in my Google Docs, 39,000 words, unpublished. I have music that I've been sitting on for years, unpublished. I just thought I would have really kicked rocks with all of this stuff developed, designed, and just unpublished. For whatever reason, my own insecurities, my own nervousness about being vulnerable about who I am and sharing that with the world. Am I safe in doing that? Right? There's all these inner things that kind of come up. So needless to say, this has been a complete shock for me. And I've had to make a lot of different decisions. And I kind of talk about some of those decisions in the last Baddie Broadcast. So if you haven't checked that episode out, make sure you do. But basically where we're at now is we have 6 months. I have 6 months of treatment, 6 months of diet and exercise and lifestyle change with the treatment, with the medication. And then I go back in for another biopsy in December. Once we get that next biopsy, we will see if I need a hysterectomy or not. She said if you were 50 or 60 years old, without a doubt, I'd say we're just going to wipe our hands of this. We're going to do a hysterectomy. But because of my age, yes, I'm single. No, I don't have kids. But do I want kids? Maybe. I might. I would like to have that choice, at least for the next 5 years. So, I'm giving it everything that I have. Not only am I doing diet and lifestyle and exercise change, but I'm visualizing myself healing. I'm doing affirmations every day. I'm commanding my body to heal. I'm talking to my body. I'm putting my body in the environment that it needs to heal. Because now I am getting over 10K steps a day. Actually, it's crazy. Yesterday I bent down to get something and I leaned back up and I was like, geez, that was so easy. Like my knees used to crack. It's like my knees used to literally crack and I was like, oh, I guess this is what it's like getting in your early 30s. Like what? No, that's not normal. None of that is normal. Like what we consume and the lifestyle we live is literally killing us. And so I'm not saying just like quit your job and whatever, but depending on where you're at, maybe, because honestly, that's what happened to me. Like, you always think in your head, like, I can't just quit. Well, what if you just go into shock one day and then like, it's the same thing. So avoid going into shock, avoid putting yourself in this place where there's a dis-ease that manifests in your life, because you can avoid it now by being like, that's just not right for me. That doesn't feel right. And call your higher self in, call the universe in, play with your belief structure, allow whatever you're going through to develop you. Develop yourself on a spiritual level. If you haven't checked out my other podcast, A Phone Call with Freedom, last week's episode was about the importance of asking questions. So if you're somebody that is in a space where you're trying to change your life and you're trying to develop yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, I would recommend checking out that podcast. So that's where I'm at. I am visualizing hard. I'm talking about the fact that I'm healing. I hope that you see me as healing. I am not just focused on the physical side of things, but I'm focused on the mental and emotional. So this is why my podcast is back. Because I thought, it's time for me to focus on me a little bit more. It's time for me to go back into my creative endeavors. And I have music that's being released in August. So that's really exciting because this is the first time in 15 years that I'm going to be fully releasing my music. So it's just, I'm taking all these leaps of faith. So I'm taking all these jumps that I need to be taking because this happened. I'm sad that it had to happen this way, but I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see it because I wasn't conditioned to see it. I was conditioned to run myself into the ground. So now I see my error and I'm working to fix that within my mind. I deserve better. You deserve better. Suffering is not a normal thing. Do not let it be a normal thing. You deserve better. I deserved better. And there's no point in looking back and being like, oh, I can't believe I did that, or whatever the point is I did, but now I'm better because of it. Whatever you're going through, you're going to be better because of it. Once you get to the other side, you learn from it, you grow, and you realize I needed that in order to be able to see myself more clearly. So I really hope that this inspires you to tap into your creative endeavors and take risks, take leaps of faith, face the fear, and just get out there and be you and make sure that you're filling up your creative endeavors more than anything else. Because that's what's going to be so important. And everything will pan out. Sometimes it only happens right there at the last moment. And that's what makes it so nerve-wracking. Because in our minds, we want to plan everything, right? This is how it's going to happen. But you got to let go of that. You don't know how it's going to happen. I'm completely in a void right now. I'm becoming somebody I have not been. I'm becoming somebody I don't even know, which is a good thing though. I'm getting to know her and I like this version of me a lot. But you just got to be willing to take those risks and become a different version of yourself. That's what I'm doing. I think it's the best thing I could be doing. I'm healing. When we go back in December for this next biopsy, my oncologist is going to be so happy and she's going to give me great news and I'm going to be so happy about it. And I'm going to learn my lesson from this whole thing. And I'm going to honor a side of myself that I've had locked away for a long time. It's time to unlock those areas of yourself and embrace your creative side and listen to yourself. For goodness sakes, listen to yourself. When you're in alignment and you're in flow, health is just naturally a part of it. It's just a part of it. This ease only comes in when you're out of alignment, when there's a better version of yourself that could be made. Embark on that journey because it will be the best thing that you ever do. I love you guys. I support you. Thank you so much for loving and supporting me along this journey. Please see me as healing and see my story as inspirational. I would love to hear about your story. Leave comments below. Let me know what's going on with you guys. And I will see you guys right back here next Saturday when you hop back on for another Baddie Broadcast.